What is up, geeks? I have the Iron Man Mark 42 armor from the Iron Man 3 movie. This is from the Marvel Select line, obviously. And this is a really cool figure, and I'm very excited to open it up. This is actually my dad's figure that I picked up at a local comic book store. This is actually really hard to get as of right now. I heard that they stopped production on this, and it's in limited quantities, so if you find one, you probably want to keep one. This is how the box looks. Has that really cool look to it. Here it's showing the War Machine. That's very easy to get right now because it's not exactly the coolest figure out there. I mean, design-wise, I don't really like it, so that doesn't really say much about the figure at all, but because I've seen reviews on it, and the figure itself is cool. It's just I don't like the design, as I said. This is how he's going to look with his really cool display. I think it's awesome if you can get a bunch of those displays and have some armory for all your Iron Man figures. Here's a close-up of the box so you can read here. Feel free to pause it. And here's a really cool picture, some artwork of the Mark 42. I just want to show off the artwork of the box because Marvel Select really does well with their artwork for their packaging, so just want to show that off. Also has the really cool Iron Man logo here. Although if I had one complaint, I wish they painted that in for his actual chest. And don't worry, I'll get into that right now when I open this guy up. Okay guys, I got the guy out of the packaging finally, and he looks really great. I think he's actually one of the best looking Iron Man figures I've ever seen. Next to Hot Toys, of course. Just the paint is amazing on this. There are obviously some issues, especially with standing him up. I can't even stand him up straight. Even though I can get that usually within 5 minutes for a figure, I wasn't able to. So that's an issue, especially with the armory. But you could cheat and just have him lean back on the display base, so it's not as bad. Now I decided to do the review with the normal Iron Man helmet without the face because as you can tell, it looks cool with the Robert Downey face, but at the same time it looks much cooler with the mask on. But it does have a certain likeness to Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. I do think it's a lot better than the older Marvel Select, which I haven't reviewed yet, but I do have my hands on it, and I will eventually review it. Yeah, the paint here is the same as the other mask, which I'll get into soon, but it also comes with 2 hands, and these are closed fist hands. I like the gold on it. I think the gold matches up great with the movie. Although there is some paint issues with this one. This is obviously just mine, hopefully, but you can see that there's like a dot of smudge over there, so that's not very nice, but it's not that noticeable. It's only on the bottom part. Otherwise the paint looks on point and there aren't too many issues with it. Let's get into a little more detail with the figure himself. So I really love the way this Iron Man looks. I love the mask. I think the way that they made more of an indent this time and painted the white for his eyes, because for the other Marvel Selects they didn't really paint it, they just kept it black. Either that or they didn't bother painting it and it looked just the same as the mask, which I didn't really like. But I do really love the paint job here. I love the red. I think the red looks awesome. It really shimmers in the light. I don't see too much bleeding, really. That's usually an issue with Marvel Selects. With this shiny paint, you might have issues with chipping, so you have to be worried about that. Otherwise, the paint is very nice. I do really like the red and the gold color. Even with the silver here. I think this is something that you miss with the Marvel Legends line. There isn't too many silver accents with the Marvel Legends, but here with the Marvel Select, you have more detail. Even in the ball joint here, you can see the sculpting, so that's definitely a plus. There are obviously a lot more pluses than I'd say, minuses with this figure. So for articulation, it's pretty decent. It has a nice ball joint. Can't really go as high up as I would like. You can always half it, which I did for a little bit. You can put it down pretty well. This doesn't really hinder it as much, but it's not as flexible as the Marvel Legends one. It doesn't go all the way up, but you are still able to get a decent range of motion. You can go forward and back as well. Has a nice bicep swivel. Got a single joint in the elbow, and you have nice wrist articulation that isn't hindered by this because it's a little bit softer of a plastic. Not exactly soft enough to pull it all the way back, which I think is a negative part, because you want to have a nice repulsor blast stance, but you can't really do that as well. The hand, I should point out, these fingers are actually softer plastic, which I don't really see too much in figures, but I do dig it because, you'd have an issue of, it breaking if you dropped it on the floor. So that's a good plus. But the wrist does go in and out and can swivel. You have a nice diaphragm joint here. You can go side to side. You can crunch him pretty well. And he can go back pretty well as also. And that's very good, especially for the flying poses. There is no waist swivel. The ball joint here is a Y joint, but it acts more like a T joint in the sense that you can really put his leg out like that, and it goes forward and back, but you can't really move the ball joint as much. So I consider it more like a T joint, to be honest. You can just go like that, which is not that bad. It actually has a pretty good range of motion going back too. There is no swivel, which I think would have been great for this figure, but they kind of opted out of that. It does have a nice double jointed knee. The one thing about the knee that I really don't like are the knee pads. I wish they were a softer plastic so I could bend them more, but you can't, and you can have the issue of breaking that. The reason why it's so important is because when you have him standing straight, you can't really put his legs all the way straight, and it's always slightly bent, which gives you the issue of standing him straight up for the armory, obviously. And that's the reason why it took me so long to try to figure out a pose for him to do. His ankles have very good articulation. You can go flex and dorsiflex, you can swivel them, and obviously you have the new and improved ankle rocker over here, which Marvel Select is using a lot more frequently now, and I do like that a lot. Here's a quick close-up of the base. It's pretty simple, but the sculpting is very nice. It gives you a very nice display for, the armory, as I said earlier. It's very easy to assemble as well. You have the foot pads there too. And the back just shows the rivets that you see in the front. Very simple. Here's a little size comparison with other figures. This is a standard 6-inch figure, and you can see that the Mark 42 towers over it. This is a standard Marvel Select figure, which is about 7 inches tall, and the Mark 42 is about 7.5 inches tall, which plays into the same scale as the Captain America First Avenger figure, because Iron Man should be a bit taller than him, obviously with the armor. So yeah, it's in pretty good scale with other Marvel Select figures. I would put him with the 7-inch line. Here he is next to the Hulk, just to give you guys a little Avengers setup. I do also have the Marvel Select Thor. I'll save that for another day, for another review. And I hope you liked my video, guys. Keep subscribing and commenting and, you know, doing all that stuff. There are a lot more figures to come, so in the meantime, embrace, express, and enjoy yourself.